What do you get when you combine beautiful dispensers, a sanitizer people love to use, and a commitment to doing business in a better way? You get a hand sanitizer solution that prevents more plastics from polluting our planet and helps to remove existing plastics too. Our guest will be sharing her best startup gems and founder journey stories from launching and building a customizable and eco friendly hand sanitizer system. Oh my gosh, you're going to learn so much. This is one of those wonderful shows where we go deep into how she figured that out. Stay tuned, everyone, for the Startup Life live show. Let's glow. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I have a pretty clear idea of what you are going through every single day. You know, one minute you're popping the champagne, woohoo, and the next minute you're crying into it. And then, some days start off and you're like, what the heck is going on? This is a terrible day. And then the last 3 hours, you're like, I'm a winner. It's the startup life. It doesn't get any better than that. And I'm so grateful that you carved out time to tune in and up your founder game, because as you do better, that's right, your startup will do better. A big yoo-hoo to the live viewers tuning in. Thank you. And a hearty welcome to all the replay viewers and podcast listeners. I know that you're going to grab valuable insights and inspiration from our conversation today. If you're tuning in from YouTube and you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. That would just be wonderful. And if you want to receive an alert whenever I post a new show, so you can go into a deep dive on the guest and their background, and it might be in an industry that you're diving into as well, or they're launching a product that's similar to yours, join the Startup Life Live meetup group. Links are in the show notes. Now, as we go through our day, right, and dealing with all the exciting things happening in startup life, I find that having a quote that we can sort of hold on to, right, or a way to frame our journey really helps. So I want to share a little bit of Andelicious advice with you right now with this delicious quote, which is, it is precisely the possibility of realizing a dream that makes life interesting. And that was from Paulo Coelho, if I say that correctly. And it's really for those days when your dream feels elusive and you're focusing on how hard it is and having a hashtag why bother moment, reframing the landscape by recalling how interesting this journey really is, tapping into your why. When you shift your perspective from nail-biting fear of the obstacles and challenges and the oh no's to being curious about those obstacles and oh no's, you start seeing solutions and possibilities. It really opens up your mind to, how can I fix this problem instead of being paralyzed by the problem itself? So I just wanted to share that quote with you. Again, it is precisely the possibility of realizing a dream that makes life interesting. And I know your startup life journey and your founder journey is very interesting, right? Great stories to tell. So I want to share a quick shout out for Scroobius. You know how much I love this platform by the fab female founder, Allison Byers. Go to Scroobius, SCROOBIOUS.com to get the support you need for raising capital. It's a human first fundraising experience. And when you use Ande 15, you get 15% off their very affordable pricing, plus the founder support that they provide. I mean, nobody knows what you're going through, right? Except another founder. I mean, you can talk to your family and friends, but they really are clueless. Another founder can sit there and go, oh yeah, and this is how I figured it out. So again, check out Scroobius if you're raising capital and you want that level of support for bringing goodness to your startup. So I'm so excited to introduce you to this guest. She's a local gal. It's so much fun when I get to talk to someone who's right down the road that I can go hug in real life, right, and have coffee with. But you're going to love her story. And it's Ashley Wayman. And she's the founder of this really cool company called Shimmy. It's a customizable and eco-friendly hand sanitizer system, elevating the way businesses provide the necessary consumable to their employees and customers. I mean, check this out. She's got a dispenser up at our favorite Patriot State, Gillette Stadium right there. I love that. Built to last, Shimmy's impeccably designed containers are made with as little plastic as possible, and all refills are packed in easy to recycle aluminum. They also partner with Climate Neutral and Plastic Bank to offset their carbon emissions and plastic footprint. And I love Ashley's background. Prior to founding Shimmy, she led integrated promotions for Wayfair through their IPO in 2014 and led the mobile marketing team at Rue La La during the flash sale site craze. So come on, let's have a big round of applause and bring Ashley into the room. Welcome to the show, Ashley Wayman.
Thank you.
The clappers. Can folks hear those clappers? Honest to goodness, you can see them when you're doing the video, but I've always wondered, I've got such great noise canceling mic here. Ashley, how are you? Tell folks where you're hailing from.
It's a sunny day. I'm in Newton, Massachusetts, and I'm really happy to be here.
Well, we love when we have a nice sunny day here in the Boston area, right? So it's great, and we've had some great days. Yep. Folks, let us know where you're hanging out. There's Mia. She's tuning in from Denver, Colorado. And of course, everybody, what do we do when Mia Voss shows up at the show? That's right. We promote her amazing podcast, Shit We Don't Talk About with Mia Voss. Go check it out wherever you tune into podcasts. Seriously, whatever you're doing, waiting in line to pick the kids up, doing the dishes, laundry, downtime in the car, this is the show you want to be tuning into. So thanks, Mia. So Ashley, I say this every time, but I'm always so curious why folks, why someone says, I'm going to go launch a business, and they give up that 401k, they give up the paycheck, they give up a life filled with certainty. Yes. What compelled you?
A life of peace.
A life of peace. No stretchable moments, but anyway, what called and compelled you to become an entrepreneur? And please let folks know if this was something that you'd been exposed to in your family, or maybe you were that person in third grade hustling products with everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily hustling products in third grade, but out of the sort of 25 of my immediate family members or extended family members, of those 25, I think about 23 actually run their own businesses or are their own boss. So that
wait a minute, 23 out of 25?
Yes. I mean, when I share that statistic or when I hear it, I'm sort of like, oh, okay, so this makes sense. And many of us have spent time in sort of, bigger corporations and really enjoy that. I mean, all of us love being part of teams, but I was definitely that person where among all of my cousins, I was always like making plays and directing the plays when we were, 6 years old. And I really, when I started to sort of understand that the options out there for us as business people aren't just to work for work for corporations, that you could actually start something and make the widgets, not sort of, be at a corporation that's trading widgets or trading derivatives of widgets. And it was really when I went to business school to get my graduate degree that I said, oh, wait a second, this is a possibility. I could go and do something like this. I've always, dreamed, to your point about the quote, dreamed about starting my own business and sort of creating something. I was a creator within corporations, but it was definitely during the pandemic when this idea came to me. I was like, this is it. This is now is the moment.
Yeah. And you have very entrepreneurial skills because clearly a Wayfair startup right here in our beautiful Boston. Rue La La was a startup as well that you got in the beginning days. So you got to see the flavor, even though you might have been employee number, 300
Rue
or
La
something.
La was probably a little bit later, but Wayfair, I was there when it was only 300 employees, and Rent the Runway was one of my first experiences after graduate school. I was probably 17th or 18th employee there when it was renting the dresses. So we were in these warehouses of beautiful gowns, and Jen Hyman and Jenny Fleiss, who started Rent the Runway, Ben Fishman, who started Rue La La, and then Neer Shah at Wayfair. I mean, you couldn't have better models of sort of, just hungry, in a good way, competitive, always iterating leaders. I mean, they were just, every morning they woke up with a natural adrenaline coffee so it was, I really have started to reflect in the last year on sort of who I've tried to emulate as leaders. And there's a little bit of everyone that I've sort of absorbed over the
And
years.
what I love about the exposure you got, Ashley, was so you got to see a company go from that startup stage to, early stage to enterprise to, okay, we've got to really nail it on the systems and procedures, right?
Yes.
So you got to see what happens and people that come and go because it's a good fit, it's not a good fit, and as depending on the different stages, folks that would not be good during the startup stage are the folks you definitely want to bring in when you're really hitting that strong enterprise stage.
Yes.
And keeping that communication going, folks, with your startup group to remind them that should you be bringing someone on, it would be someone who'd really take them to another level. I just throw out that little Andelicious advice on the side there.
Great advice.
It's so important. But I love how you built your career in consumer products and platforms so that when the pandemic hit, and did you have 3 children by then at the pandemic, or did you have one during the pandemic?
Yes, we had 3 children. My youngest was probably 9 months when the pandemic hit. So really young, and as my husband has said, probably the worst time ever to start a business with 3 young kids in a pandemic when he's in finance. So that was absolutely, and it has been one of the most challenging pieces, is sort of blending entrepreneurship with motherhood. At the same time, I feel like one of the reasons why it felt so natural was that I was able to have some more flexibility with my time.
Yep.
So I could do school drop-offs and pickups, and I could arrange meetings around, their schedule and their needs. It's not always perfect, as we all know.
And as we were talking earlier too, folks, the slow grow startup is okay, right? Yes. You don't have to go out like a rocket out of the starting gate. If you choose to, that's wonderful. But you were talking about Eileen Fisher. I was talking about MailChimp before we started the hit live button. And these are companies that just took their time and built their brands, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's a lost art. I feel like in many ways, social media has actually hurt the comfort people can have with growing more slowly. And I fell victim to it as well. You see these consumer, unicorn examples like Allbirds, in 5 years, they went public, and such a fun, new, innovative product, extremely high repeat rate, all the wonderful things. And their founders are fantastic human beings. So it's really a unicorn scenario. I'm trying to think of some other ones in this sort of more, consumer product space, like even Blueland's someone that we look up to in terms of sort of the next generation of more eco-friendly cleaning products.
Right.
But I think in the end, especially with fundraising being very difficult right now, the climate for fundraising, it's, in a good way, there's sort of the pendulum swinging back to people really taking more of a bottom line approach to how they grow.
Right. And Ashley, I cannot tell you, this is my 212th episode, right? In 2.5 years, how many founders say, oh, I should be further along, or have shame around how far along they are. We have got to dissolve that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And there's so much of the sort of like imposter syndrome I see, especially among women, afraid to just put together an amazing deck and have someone compliment and be like, oh, you think, and it's like, yes, this is amazing. Own that. And I, of course, fell victim to it. And I think it just comes back to having an amazing support system behind the scenes, so that or a board or advisory board where you can just be vulnerable and have those sort of moments of self-doubt, so that, forward facing, it's just onward and upward. And
that's right. And it's having someone hold up the mirror for you and remind you, but also keeping the discussion open. I went to the only all women's MBA program, Simmons School of Management, where, we had actual case studies with women. And back in the day, you didn't have that. Okay. Most of the case studies were with men. And we talked about this, and we talked about how men develop business. So actually it's the same thing. Women, as we learned how to go into corporate and really nail it and understand how the business, rules of engagement went, we were able to still add our feminism to it. Okay. At the same time, we need to do this today with raising capital, because you're right, with the imposter and then do you mind, and not really understanding the value that you are giving an investor by giving them equity in your business. You're doing all the hard work.
Yes.
They're giving you money to add, wind to your sails and give you the lift and leverage you need to grow and scale.
Yeah.
You are doing the work, and you're bringing your unique talent. And women just have to really own the fact that, wow, their job is to find that aligned investor, right? But to step fully into the power that they deserve this, it's worthy. And these people don't have any time to be doing what they're doing and creating something new for the market.
Right.
And you lose other people's money, in a VC fund, that's the game.
Yep.
They know that 8 out of 10 are not going to do well, but 2 are going to do super and make their funders of their fund very happy.
Yep. No, exactly. I mean, there could be 9 podcasts just on raising money as a woman. I have so many thoughts on that topic alone. And I think, I mean, I'm also a mom, as you said. So I think our nature is to sort of, when we have a moment to speak, we just start speaking, right? And there's so much going on in our brains that we just like share it all. But one advice I was given is, within the first 60 seconds of having a conversation with a VC or someone that you're trying to raise money from, say a couple things, but then ask them a question, right? Because I think not only does it show that you're confident enough to just own the conversation and pause the conversation and turn it back, but it also it'll put them thinking, okay, wait a second, I forgot that I also have to convince this person why I'm a good partner for them. And and that is my nature, to just talk. And it took me probably 10 pitches to just take a breath, ask a question. And, you can tell if someone's listening to you too. So sometimes it would be, I'd find something in your background, like Route 66 US, are you are you a road tripper?
That's great advice, Ashley, on so many levels. And also, to get back to that male versus the yin and yang of raising capital, is that you have to get to the point in the US. Now in Italy, they have to use all the words and tell all the stories. Isn't that funny? But here in the US, it's get to the point, bullets. And as good communicators, you want to communicate in a way that works for their brain. I do believe, though, another woman would be like, ooh, I love all that, because women are storytellers. They're like, they want to bring everything from the entire meadow into the conversation versus being like, out there hunting with the point.
Yes.
But
yes. And women, I mean, I've said this before, but nothing prepares you for startup life more than being a newborn mother. And I know that I don't want to exclude people that don't have children from that. This is just, it all comes back to sort of finding your own superpower and finding something that within your own life and daily existence, or even in your past, adolescent life, what is that superpower? And how do you sort of translate that into what makes you a good founder, what makes you worthy of investment? And I mean, as many moms know, it's a form of torture in the CIA to be woken up every hour on the hour for a sustained amount of time. I mean, the strength and the stamina, and if you can negotiate with a 2-year-old toddler, you can negotiate in any business environment. And the longer I sort of went through the fundraising process, and even to this day, I mean, this afternoon I have 2 negotiations that are very intense. I've been practicing this for 7 years, since my first daughter was born, and calling on that superpower. There's no man that could sit in a seat that has anything on me, and I think that, we oftentimes as women, we sort of think, okay, how do I get to what other people might be saying? But it's like, you've got all the superpower right where you are. It's just a matter of like seeing it and embracing it, and then, translating that into action. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling the stitch that on a pillow moment, everyone. You have all the superpower you need right where you are. I have goosebumps from that, Ash.
Oh,
Sit on the couch, right on the chair. Just that is so
yeah. Oh,
remember and everything that you just
yeah.
said too. I could combine the Andalucious moment in there as well because really understanding moms, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you've negotiated anything, and then especially teenagers. Oh my gosh,
You
it's
have to
just
tell me. I'm scared.
oh, you'll have it all worked out by then. Parenting with Love and Logic for teens, my favorite.
Uh,
But anyway, so it's just such good info. But I want to go back though because we got
yeah.
off on this wonderful tangent about women and raising capital and all. But what was the thing that happened that you said, you know what, I am going to bring a sanitizer everybody loves in a low plastic use container that I can use as swag moments is something people that
Yeah.
businesses can hang up or have around and use as a marketing tool. Talk a little bit
Yes.
about that moment where that idea hit you and you went,
Yes.
ooh, I think I got something here.
Yep. So, March was sort of the start of a lot of this in the United States. And I was so excited to see, we were in lockdown here in Boston. I was so excited to see how these consumer products companies innovated in sanitizer. Because overnight, I mean, there's really, it's an unprecedented moment in our lifetime of overnight, everyone was mass educated on what this product category did and where you use it, how you use it, why you use it. And it was so dramatically underserved. And there's
Right.
one, behemoth. There's Purell. People knew that name. It was sort of like Kleenex, right? Where Band-Aid, where it becomes synonymous with the product. But my first instinct was actually to sit back and just enjoy the show, for lack of a better word, the business show of seeing what companies did. And I assumed there would be new entrants, but the businesses that were most well positioned to take advantage of this and to really expand and innovate quickly were the existing companies. So,
Sure.
P&G, Unilever, SE Johnson, Johnson and Johnson, and even companies like Honest Company, more sort of like catering to the millennial mom. And so 2 or 3 months went by, and I was just sitting there saying, "There's not much innovation happening. It's still, I mean, I don't have a ton of the bottles here, but it's still single use plastic." Pump bottle, big plastic pump jugs.
Absolutely. And you're carrying them everywhere.
Yes. And at first, there was such scarcity and supply that it really was a life safety issue. We had to get those products to the hospitals. But then when supply started to catch up, and this was now around July of 2020, August of 2020, I said, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of time and money and do some research and just figure out what's going on. And the two main points of innovation that I saw were, number one, eco-friendliness. Like the plastic water bottle industry, with the introduction of Swell water bottles and the refillable concept, this was proven in other industries that people wanted to have a more eco-friendly approach to a daily consumable. And the second that I was hit with was the aesthetics. And I'll never forget the moment. I believe it was July or August of 2020. And I was talking to my husband in our kitchen, and I said, look at this Kleenex box. Here it is in the camera. What if something like this, and we had this like decorative Kleenex box we were given as a housewarming gift. What if the same way we took this very simple industrial looking product and made it beautiful like this, that we could do that with a hand sanitizer dispenser? And, so instead of it being a gross pump plastic bottle, it was a touchless, what you're seeing here,
Right.
A touchless experience that sort of could blend into your decor.
Right.
And the initial sort of idea was much more about the home environment and the consumer. And we over time developed this product called the Go, which is a refillable, you refill it.
Oh, excellent.
In this spout, and then easy snap on, and then dispense sanitizer so that when you're done, you can refill it and use it endlessly, and really even, mix up the scent of the sanitizer that's inside. Really simple product, but something that the biggest behemoths in the industry still
doing?
aren't even touching.
Oh my God.
Um,
Actually, does this remind you of folks when you go to grad school for business to get your MBA, you have market research and marketing courses that you take where you have to develop a product and take it to market. Even as a study, you have to do that. This is what you've done. You were looking like, okay, how can, and a lot of us B school folks do that as you earlier in the conversation. So I sat back and I watched the business show of how are they going to handle sanitizer, and they weren't doing it in a way, and you did it. You came up with not only how do we make this easy on the eyes, right?
right.
Opportunity, but how do we make sure that it's a good sanitizer?
Yep.
Folks, as you go through the stores that you've been in the last 3 years, some come out and you're like, what is this sticky? It's like honey and it stinks. And
right. And the phrase that kept coming back to me was sort of how can we seamlessly integrate this product into our lives? And one of my favorite products, I'm sure you know it, Ande, but it's so fun to use that when you go to use it, you get like a little bit of giddy excitement. But the Swiffer Wet Jet, I don't know if you've used it or had it. It's so easy to use, and you pop in the cartridge and you pop out. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's the most eco-friendly, but the innovation from the mop to the Swiffer Wet Jet is like a game changer.
It is.
And it's really, that was a lot of the inspiration for the sort of cartridge concept that I had for the touchless dispenser.
Right. And I'm going to bring you up to full screen because I just love, look at that school bus on the left and the heart there. Oh my gosh. Just so adorable and so attractive. And as Richard O says, reusable. He's my eco guy and that tunes into the show. And so what I want to just sort of step back because having these ideas are great and you can sketch them out. And, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that. But now you have to start doing the manufacturing process. And we had a great nonprofit organization here in Boston, the executive director, and oh my gosh, I hate it when my brain forgets what it's called. Oh, well, I can see it. Anyway, they help with taking an MVP and finding local manufacturing for it. Wow. How did you figure out the manufacturing? Because if you want to be eco-friendly, that can be a challenge.
Yep. So the first place I started, and it's one of those things where I look back on this and I'm like, you were crazy. What were you thinking? But ground up manufacturing and ground up product design is top 2 most difficult processes on the planet. I didn't feel like there were existing form factors for either product that were good enough for me to sort of just piggyback on and use.
Right.
So the first place I started was actually an industrial design agency, and there are now many of these. This specific industrial design agency all they did was industrial design. Many of the agencies now, especially in the United States, do both industrial design and then take it to build it into a mechanical engineering design and electromechanical. We ended up working with a firm in Korea. I felt like form factor, meaning the shape, the look and feel, it was really important to differentiate ourselves from a design standpoint. And I feel like that's actually probably one of our most valuable assets, the design patent that we have, patent pending. But this, I'll show you a little bit. I have another one right here.
Oh, good.
But part of I think the genius of this design, this is like a funny Gillette Stadium we're bringing back. So I wanted to be able to work on countertop and also be able to be wall mounted. So we have this sort of like, you can see the etching, and 3M made us a custom double-sided sticky tape if someone wanted to wall mount it. But the real innovation from a design standpoint is that this faceplate can come off. And we also have a locking mechanism for our commercial customers.
Yep.
But the idea that you could have one dispenser, but endlessly customizable branding moments and
oh my gosh, that's the real disruption and game changer right there.
Yep. And then the other cool thing, again, that I attribute to our industrial designer is that this drip tray comes off if you want, sort of like a chicer look. I would use it for probably like a baby, like a baby changing station or a mud room. But, your kids are coming in from camp, and I'm always looking for mom hacks. And all of a sudden, it's like kids just, and this is what they do in our house. I just say, go shimmy. And they get so excited. And,
Oh my gosh.
bus. And
Oh, that is terrific. And podcast listeners, what Ashley has been doing is she just reached behind her, grabbed the cover of one of her other dispensers, snapped it off, put it on the one she's holding up and sharing with all of us. I mean, that's ridiculously easy. You can hear that noise right there.
The little magnet
Yes.
process. Yeah.
But the fact that people aren't going to escape with it in the commercial setting, you've got it so there's a locked-in feature. And think about all the times you go to trade shows, you want to be able to do different ways of reaching your customers or different events or different ways. OMG. And so they can, when you said customizable, so they're going to place the order for the dispenser. What's the turnaround time, especially when they want to customize it and have their logo on it or a special, we're bringing back the high five or whatever.
Yeah. And so the dispensers are in our warehouse. So the lead time on that is a lot shorter. But in terms of the customization of the faceplate, for larger runs, anything north of sort of like 1,000 faceplates or more, it's about a 3 to 4 week lead time. On smaller runs, it's really about a week or two.
Oh, come off. That's so fast. It's got to be local then.
Well, so the smaller run is local.
Yeah.
And they're a franchise, but they've been amazing to work with. And they mostly leverage vinyl stickers, like really high-end vinyl stickers.
Yeah.
But this faceplate here is actually CVS's branding. So healthier happens together. They did a little tagline here to just show that they were working with a more sustainable vendor. But yeah, I mean, some of when I get through to the people, the decision makers at enterprise clients, I mean, it's sort of, the reaction is sort of like, well, what's the catch? Instead of us seeing something like this, that reminds them of the pandemic, their customers of the pandemic and fear of other people and the environment. This is sort of like, we got you.
Yeah. And we're all in this together. Right. And this is what we do now. Isn't this fun? We've got a new way of being. Yay. Yeah. So how did you know to go to an industrial designer? And how expensive was it?
It was expensive. I think, the ranges of quotes I've heard from other friends, you can build a product or design a product anywhere from $10,000 to, $40,000. I wouldn't say, unless someone on your team has an engineering background and can work in CAD files and design, I wouldn't say less than that. I haven't heard anything less than 10,000.
Yeah. And that's an investment, everybody.
Yes.
Find it and go do it. It is worth it. Right, Ashley?
Yes. One of the inspirations from the form factor standpoint is that those little balls of chapstick, EOS. That's, to me, that was like the perfect case study of it's just still chapstick. But it's so fun to use and look at, and it sits nicely in your purse, and it's got different colors. Right. And so that, that's a perfect example of sort of like when you change the form factor, the investment in industrial design is worth it.
It really is. So let's just take a quick hello to one of our favorite show fans. Everybody knows Brent from Ottawa, Canada. He is a diverse person and a loyal fan of the show. And he reminds us always that disability is innovation. And as parents, you and I both have neurodiverse children, have learning differences, as does Brent. That's also a hidden disability, everybody. And our neurodiverse folks deserve a seat at the table as well. And Brent was asking, as he always does, do you think about disabilities in your business?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things is actually the fact that we're a touchless dispenser, and, simple things like being able to use a pump for many people are not possible. Right. And, being able to open this and close this, right, can be difficult. So the touchless nature of our product, even though it required much more on the mechanical and electrical engineering side of the product, I felt really strongly about having something that was touchless. And then the second way we think about it a lot is when we have a dispenser that's using a floor stand. We've spent months. I mean, even to this day, we're still fine tuning and perfecting the stand, because wheelchair accessibility, the height, the weight, so that something's not being knocked over if it gets bumped into. My dream is down the road to be able to also innovate from a formulation standpoint, to have, I don't know if it would be considered a disability, but a condition of having eczema prone formulation, so that someone with, naturally dry skin would seek out Shimmy in terms of, having a unique formulation that can cater to that condition.
That's wonderful. That is because, people who have eczema or any kind of skin allergies know that this was a huge challenge when this happened. So you were watching, because Boston got hit early, everybody. Mid-March, we were done. Everybody was staying home. And so you're there watching the show, and everything unfold. And you said, okay, you came up with this idea. You spoke to your industrial design person. You started pulling together, the patent for the design, all of that, because you have a whole flow of materials from your static to the liquid that need to be patented. So you worked with I assume a local attorney, law firm. Everybody, that's the number one member of your dream team. Just throwing that out there. You're a lawyer. Anyway, then you had to start creating your MVP. So what did you have first? Because sometimes we've got our duct tape pulled together idea right out of cardboard. What did you do? Did you use a 3D printer? How did that happen?
So, and it's actually, we're already at some mistakes that I made, but I would say I really wanted to go big. And so what I did was use those industrial designs and those renderings to actually go out and raise money to be able to go through the manufacturing process, which involves months and months of prototyping, testing different features, iterations. And, but I do think that, we did do 3D printing. That was probably the first step, just from like a scale standpoint.
It makes it much easier so everybody can get the concept. And I did remember our local group here, and folks, even outside of the Boston area, check out Forge, Forge. Laura Teicher is the executive director there. They help you. If you've got an idea like Ashley's, they will help you not only create the MVP at no cost to you, but also figure out where you can get it sourced and manufactured, and even find an industrial designer. So again, these resources are so important. Forge, Forge. Go check them out. Okay, so, and now you're also, because you're raising capital, you also have to show that consumers are going to want this.
Yes.
The B2Bs are going to want it, as well as other organizations and perhaps individuals.
Yep.
Tell us about that, and how did that go?
Yep. So around November of 2020, that's exactly where we were sort of at mentally. And, even just breakdowns of color, breakdowns of scent, and what were consumers' biggest issues, or were they satisfied with the current options? Were we making a business for no reason? And I really felt like I needed that data to be able to raise money. So exactly same wavelength. We ended up, I think the actual surveying company ended up charging us, I'm thinking like just over $1,000. We did a pretty robust study, but it was well worth the money. And we asked questions like, are you currently satisfied with sanitizer options? We even showed them images, the renderings of the units, and said, do you think that you would purchase this? We asked them scent preference, even tested out pricing in those surveys. And we got back a whole load of data that especially on the business to business side, that said customers were actually saying, yes, I would shop at a store. I would shop at this supermarket over this supermarket if they provided me high quality sanitizer.
Yep.
So, that really, and I think it was something like 60% of customers said that they would choose a store they shopped at based on offering high quality sanitizer, which is such a powerful statistic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I love that you gave us the price of that survey. Folks, this is how Ashley has made it so far so quickly, because she hired invested in some good folks, even though she's, moving as fast as she can as a mom of 3 and a husband who's in finance. I have to throw that out because there's always constraints about someone who says, where's the bottom line?
Yeah.
But,
Totally.
it's really, of course, you can do it on the skinny and on the lean and all of
Mhm.
that with a Google survey. But sometimes when you bring in the pros, you're going to get that data that's going to inform you faster and better on how to move forward with your business. So, Ashley, I just love every decision you've made so far. Even though when you're making really good decisions, mistakes happen, right?
Yes. Yes. No, it's very true. And I think where I was going with sort of the mistake was that I'm impatient by nature, and I was so ready to just have the product out there so we could market the hell out of it, that a combination of us pushing our manufacturing partner slash engineering agency too fast, and them also making some pretty major mistakes. Our first beta launch, the product itself had a number of issues, both firmware and hardware related. And that was, I mean, there's no better way to learn than, getting something out there and having it not work. So the beta launch was very successful from like an optic standpoint and the buzz and people's initial excitement. Within a month, the product had several breakdowns. And so that really was,
Ashley,
intense.
how did you handle that? Folks, we had Billy Footwear on, and their first order of 4,500 pairs of sneakers, 85% they had to throw out. These things happen and it makes you sick to your stomach.
Yep.
How did you get through that?
Yep. I think it's simple advice of just one foot in front of the other and doing the right thing. So we immediately zeroed out inventory so that no one else could purchase that. And anyone that had purchased, we told them that they were going to get, the latest and greatest version at our cost. But it really was an intense relationship, teamwork with our agency to fix those. And to be totally honest, this was my naivete about consumer products. It's very normal to have several iterations of products be launched and to discover things. And if you think about, your own life, I ordered something, I think it was like a noise machine for one of my daughters, and it came from Amazon, and, it kind of didn't work perfectly in the beginning. And then after 3 weeks, it completely died. This stuff happens. There's lemons and there's also product flaws. And I think if I could go back and do it again, I would have just done a really small initial production and paid more per piece. I was so price focused that we were trying to meet the order minimums.
Right.
I think I really would have done a super small production and almost like lost money on every product, but just to see the reception,
how it lasted, and those of us who have had food companies with a shelf life, that if you've got any kind of dairy or meat or anything that's going to expire in so long, you have to test that out and see, well, how long does this last on the shelf? When is that last expiration day that it's going to work? And the tweaks that you get back, that customer feedback. So I so appreciate your transparency and honesty, Ashley, in sharing how you were impatient. You wanted to get out there, and those minimum orders are for real. So if you were going into box stores, they do, like a CVS or a Gillette Stadium, even though they're very supportive of, diverse owners, minority owned businesses. At the same time, you have volume needs that you have to meet. So I understand both of those sides. So how did it all work out? Tell us the happy ending.
The happy ending is, and again, I look back on it, and if that first, one or two products had been perfect, we might not ever have really pivoted to focus on what we're focused on now, which is really businesses. I mean, the real innovation is for our businesses, CVS this side, to be able to sort of have someone walk into their store and feel like the sanitizer program is deliberate. Like, you can relax when you're in our store. It's clean, it's safe. Here's something we're providing for you for free. And we would have probably still been trying to direct to consumer market this product, which is a really, in my opinion, like a really interesting, exciting consumer opportunity. It's just, and this is like just great advice that I've been given dozens of times at every one of my jobs. But you really have to pick one thing to do well, and only one thing to start.
One
Yes.
Okay, everybody, that's an Andelicious moment, 100%. Right, you can build off of that, but you
Yes.
got to get it deep into the foundation. Ashley,
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yes. And when I was pitching to various VCs when we were raising our seed round, a couple of them said no because they thought we were trying to tackle too much at first, and they were right. And actually, a
Darn
couple
it.
of them I've stayed in touch with, and just occasionally will bounce an idea off of them, not even looking for capital. I just enjoy the conversation so much. But they were right. I mean, pick one thing, one customer, one product within your arsenal. If you're trying to do too much, you're going to completely
and dilute your everything.
Yes.
And then fade off into the distance. And what I also really love about how you have moved your and folks who listen to the show on a regular basis, every time our guest shares their disaster, we know how it informed them and something better came out of it. So when we had Under Canvas with Sarah Dusick, she had a glamping resort. Well, the first glamp ground that they had got just destroyed by a storm that came through Yellowstone and wiped them out. But guess what that did? Now all their tents are capable of withstanding winds up over 180 miles an hour and snow of over 3 feet, things like that. Billy, he went back and with Billy Footwear went back and got a much better designer, distributor, manufacturer, and person who could handle all that. And he's, Nordstrom's, Amazon, he's everywhere now. So these disasters that you've had happen, it informed you in such a wonderful way. And I share that, Ashley, so that listeners and viewers can see that when you step back and you become curious instead of why did I make that mistake? Why didn't I listen to, the old recrimination, self-recrimination moment, you can say, ooh, look how this informed me. So thank you for sharing that teachable moment for everybody. It's so, so good. And then how did you reach folks? Like because we're all part of the business map here on the Startup Life Live show, the idea, how you brought it to market, MVP, customer segment. And now, which you've like, wow, business. Now, how are you reaching? What is your distribution channel, so to speak, to reach these customers?
Yeah. So, especially when we were focused on consumer, I think some of the obvious digital platforms were really helpful. I found that, and it's influencers mixed with giveaways, mixed with, just a mom with 1,000 Instagram followers genuinely posting that she's using a product really matters to, oftentimes it's the smaller the followers, the more engaged their audience
That's
is. Right. So those were some of the more effective sort of grassroots ways. I am a big fan of investment in PR for the right sort of the right business and the right sort of
exposure.
Right. Because I think especially now in our business to business model, we really have pivoted now. Like our sole product right now is selling to businesses to put their branding, for their customers. And that could be as small as like one gym location and as big as CVS with 9,000 doors. But I would say, PR is both it's credibility, but it's also sort of a great way to just have, random readers and random business folk, look at tell your story. It's a great way of storytelling. Firms can be expensive. So it just depends on budget and where else you're allocating.
Right, exactly. And, being able to make that phone call. And I don't know if you got certified by WeBank or not, but that can help you get in the door of these large corporations. I mean, there's a $1 billion roundtable of Fortune 500 companies that spend that kind of money on minority businesses. And you fit that role. All our guests do. Any diverse founder, it's worth. But WeBank is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and it's just, folks, because you want to keep your margin, you want to get people to open doors and give you a chance. It's a great way to glow. So as you've been moving along, what's happening now? What does success look like for you, both in the business but also, as the founder? And how are you measuring that success? Because, it's so easy to look outside yourself and say, and compare and then feel, just terrible.
Yep. No, totally. And Jen Hyman, who is currently the CEO of Rent the Runway and has been an incredible mentor to me in this venture. She was who I worked for when I was at Rent the Runway, 11 years ago or 10 years ago. But she gave me this advice, and she said, really early on, you have to think about what your goals are, because they are so different founder to founder. And, the whole rich versus king, do you want to be fully in charge, or do you want to make money from a venture? That's one sort of obvious trade-off. But I think, for me, she's been good about helping me to sort of have those conversations earlier, because it will dictate how you run your business, how much outside capital to take, how fast you can grow. And I would say success for me, and I know it sounds cheesy, but it's getting to a point where we can attract a strategic partner who can help me bring the product to the world. I mean, one thing that we saw both in the research and also from anecdotal feedback from customers is that when the product does work and when you're getting it into the right hands, it's a joyous experience for everyone. And I certainly have experienced it with my kids. My kids love Shimmy. They love using Shimmy. They love coming in and racing over. They love telling their friends about it. So, and they have it at their school, and the kids, use the school bus. And honestly, the feedback we've gotten from some of our enterprise clients of people Google us after going to a CVS and using it. My dream is to be able to, we're just a small startup at this point, but my dream is to attract a partner that can help me bring this to the fore. And the way in which I do that, I think I'm a little bit less concerned with, I need to make, gajillions of dollars. I think obviously I want to return value to the people that invested in Shimmy, including me and my husband. But I really think attracting a partner or attracting a buyer or partner, to me, is my ultimate success metric. And I think we're getting there. It has come with a lot of mistakes and carnage, but everyone goes through that. And
I got to tell you, it's been under 3 years. I think you are, you have been soaring. This is a lot to do. Many people just do a study for a couple of years before they even create the prototype. I know that you had to jump on it because it was a unique opportunity of timing.
Yes.
Which is this idea would never have come to market if we hadn't had a pandemic. That would have been the last thing. But because of your creative problem-solving brain, you saw an opportunity, and an opportunity that also met your needs, was an alignment of how you wanted to be fully expressed with a business. So it was complicated enough because it needed to be.
Yes.
For you.
I'm just thinking, Sarah Blakely, I love following on Instagram, and she has those little Monday nuggets of wisdom. And I have a Post-it right here on my computer with the quote that she volunteered, or she put on the mug one day that she does. And it was, sell the problem, not the solution. And at the time I was actually raising a bridge round to just get us to the CVS sort of moment. But I love that, because if you aren't aware of what the problem is that you're solving, the solution is irrelevant. And I have it here for a reason, because every day I'm selling this business, whether it's a supplier, someone we're actually, selling to, and on the enterprise side. But I will say that is like the most important thing for a founder to have, especially when you're starting something out. Like, is the problem actually a problem? Or are the solutions that are out there good enough?
That's right.
Yeah.
And you brought up such a valuable point. And this is so important in the founder journey and with your startup folks, is that you need to be in love with the problem that you're solving and the people you're solving it for, because it honestly is never about your solution. Yes, of course it is. But what I'm saying is that level of communication and alignment and ability to look at your end user and be empathetically involved with why they need this is how you can deliver and delight.
Yeah.
And so Sarah is absolutely right. And I'm so happy that you have that sticky note right there in front of you. I want everybody right now, go ahead and write that down for yourself. Be in love. with the problem that you're solving. And you'll see this when you pitch for capital, folks, right, Ashley? Is that's what the investors want to hear as well, is that you really understand the problem, but you're also like, that's what you're about. I love that problem and solving it. And yes, Richard, we're going to have to do another stitch that on a pillow. Sell the problem, not the solution. And I also like what you said too, which is every day I'm selling, you're selling the business, different components of it. One day you're the customer contact, you're the person working and doing the biz dev. Another day you're working and selling to the manufacturer and the suppliers and all of those folks, and to the team that you're onboarding.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting life, the startup life.
Yes.
And so, one question I meant to ask, I totally forgot. And I just would love if you could share a little bit about it, which is the eco-friendly. Was it hard to get? Because that's a lot of plastic. And yes, it's reusable, which we love. And we love the fact that you came up with a terrific and fun reusable dispenser for at home, right? Yeah. But how did that work? Was that hard to do? Because I know there are founders out there who want to be eco-friendly as well, but are probably getting pushback on costs and things like that.
Yep, definitely cost is a dynamic. And there's also a lot of sort of chemistry that goes into some of the more eco-friendly solutions now. And so, I would say, I think some type of sustainability, social impact, eco-friendly component has become the bar now for businesses. So I think, and there are parts of our business where we purchase offsetting credits, right? Yep. Which, isn't the most forefront of sustainability, but it's something, and it's important to me. And we did reach the threshold of preventing 2 million bottles of single-use plastic from entering the ocean, and that feels
that's
really
huge.
Good. That's huge.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, we're doing our best, and we'll continue to do that, especially again, if we could attract a larger partner, because I think, the refillable nature is it's the best way to combat that. And then the to-go market, I mean, you've been to your local grocery store, CVS, like this is everywhere. And this is, in my opinion, the devil.
It is. It's no good. And because you also have met the bar, so to speak, for the type of plastic you're using. So you're doing it all across the board, which I just love. And I congratulate you and thank you for sharing how that process works. And so we can plant that seed in anyone else who is seeking to do a consumer product that has less plastic and can help prevent more plastic getting into the ocean. So I love that. Something fierce. How has entrepreneurship served you both personally and professionally, Ashley? You've been at this now for 2.5 years, mom of 3, and you came from some really great corporate backgrounds doing very exciting things, but now you're in that seat. How has this served you? How have you seen yourself evolve over the last 2.5 years?
I mean, I've thought about this a lot recently. I've always been a confident person, but with regard to business, I always, and especially in my grad school program, I was looking around just being so in awe of all my classmates and how much they knew or what they were doing. And this process has fed me so much, has fed my confidence so much. And it's not the confidence of like puffing your chest. I really feel capable of tackling any problem. The comfort and the calmness I have with things going wrong is just leaps and bounds what it was before. And I think, I'm so excited for what's also beyond Shimmy, whether it's another venture or whether it's going back into a corporate setting. I now see why executives and C-suite, excellent leaders, are who they are. And it's that calm amongst the storm. And we see it, in many politicians that we want to emulate. It's that, when things are going wrong, you look for someone to give that speech that has the calm come over. So I would say it's fed me in that way. And then probably the second is just, it's been such an adventure, and I have so much pride for overcoming some of the obstacles that we've had, but I've always been an adventurer. I'm up for the next, and so it's fed me with this just exploration and tons of new relationships that I cherish. So, it's been awesome.
And you're role modeling to your kids and adding, more to the 23 out of 25 of my extended family are running their own show.
And my daughters seeing me have a business, when they play make believe with each other, they want to have a salon and they want to own the salon, and that's so cool too. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, that's the best part. Oh, I'm so grateful that you came on the show and shared your story. What hard thing are you working on that we could add wind to your sails? How can we help you with Shimmy?
Yeah. I think if you have a business, a corporate headquarters, a retail chain, or, just to fill out our inquiry form online to get a custom faceplate. And we're happy to, as part of the Ande Lyons show, do a free customization for anyone on the faceplate for their brand or business.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Oh my gosh. I hope people kept listening to the end. That's so important.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Any last before I pop you in the green room and wrap up the show?
No, Ande, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, it was great learning about it. And folks know that I love pulling on the threads, and you delivered such great advice and insights on how you navigate it, and some wonderful, wonderful advice for founders. So as they're stumbling along, they can do better with their business. So thank you, Ashley. I've got so much for joining us. I'm going to pop you in the green room and go ahead and wrap up the show. Oh, you guys know how much I love consumer product companies, right? And how they figure it out. Let me share with you who's coming up on the show Friday, January 13th. We have the amazing Rachel Kim, and she's the co-founder and CEO of My Comma, an organic period care subscription platform amplifying women and BIPOC-led brands to menstruators and powering new routines. And yeah, we're going to be talking about something that most folks are taught to suppress, and that's menstruation. Really, it's one of the many bodily issues women are quiet, don't talk about that. And Rachel is actively changing the social conversation around menstrual health. It's going to be a delicious conversation. And how do you know? Whenever I post a new show, that's right. You hop on over and join the Startup Life Live meetup group to make sure that you get all the scoop on all of our guests that are coming on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are cheering for you here. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out and ask a question of me or my guest. We want to hear from you. Anything that we can do to help move your startup forward is an honor. Until then, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Cheers, everyone. Mwah! And it's dance time again.